Hey, what's going on, everybody? Back with another awesome unboxing today. This is a really cool one that I'm super excited and grateful that I get to put on the channel. I've wanted to check one of these out for a long time and never had the opportunity to even handle one in person. This was made possible by one of the viewers of the channel, Jason. He's an awesome guy. Me and him have been talking a lot about EDC back and forth. And he's just all around really great guy, and he generously offered to send this one in and loan it to me to put on the channel and to use for unboxings for a bit, and maybe if I love it, perhaps make a trade deal of some sort with him. So thanks, man. I'm so excited and grateful that I get to open this on the channel, and I really do appreciate it. For the unboxing, I'm going to use the this was from Jason, a trade that we did, the Chris Reeve Umnumzon Tonto with a mirror edge on it that I have definitely been using and already put some scratches in the edge, using for unboxings and things like that. So this thing is a lightsaber at this point, so awesome for opening packages. And let me check this out. Make sure you didn't put anything in here. Okay, so there it is, guys. He got this directly from Grimsmo. I believe this is one that they put on their website in the inventory area of ones that they just build and that you can purchase. And he got lucky and picked this one up. So, of course, it comes in this kind of pelican-style case, kind of like the Medfords come in. And Grimsmo knives, probably made in Canada. Yes, they are out of Canada. And there is the knife. So you get this really cool cutout, get some nano oil, get the I think it's a T9. There it says right there, T9 for the hardware, which is awesome. I'm glad it's not T6, which I can't stand. Lift here, and it's got the paperwork, I'm guessing, underneath. So I'll check that out. And there's the Stonewash. This one is 6LV4 titanium, silver, bronze, hardware, ceramic bearings, and RWL 34, which is awesome because I know recently, I guess RWL 34 is kind of running low, so they were using, I think, CPM 154, which is not my preferred. I would rather have this kind of steel just because I don't have it in a lot of knives, so that's really cool. And they provide you with a really cool sticker, so all well and good. Let's put that back and check out the knife and kind of show it before I start kind of talking about the Grimsmo Brothers, John and Eric out of Canada. Very, very smooth titanium. Absolutely. I mean, especially compared to this, which is real kind of tacky. They're old school sandblasted titanium. This is completely different. This is very, very smooth. And yeah, no blasting at all. Just been, it looks like it's been very stonewashed with a very small grain stonewashing, so not super coarse, to give it that kind of ice look, I guess you could call it. Let's check the centering, and I'm guessing it's going to be perfect because it's on bearings. Perfectly centered. Awesome. Check out those. I really love the hardware that they use. There's the Grimsmo Viking helmet, which is their logo, and the bronzed hardware. I'm colorblind, guys, so this bronze actually looks kind of red to me. I don't know if I'm the only one. It's probably just me with my eyes. And there is that very cool but very polarizing kind of spoonbill blade shape. I call it spoonbill. In Oklahoma, we have a fish called a spoonbill fish, and that's kind of what this knife reminds me of. It also looks very Norse, you know, very Viking, Thor's hammer type look to it, which is definitely more of what they're going for. That lockup is interesting. Wow, silky, silky smooth. I mean, like to say smooth is a weird statement because it's not. It's so free. It's not even really smooth. You don't feel any friction at all. I mean, it's just free. There's no friction. Like, probably, this is less friction than like a Koenig Arius, which I've had on this channel. This is just, there's nothing there. It just floats and falls. So definitely a finger guillotine more than any other knife I've ever experienced. I mean, very, very light lock bar tension. I mean, that's what's really bizarre about it, is like almost none at all, which is interesting, especially compared to something like a Chris Reeve. Not that there's a ton of lock bar pressure, an uncomfortable amount, but there's definitely some. It kind of makes you feel a little bit more secure, I would say. I'm sure this is perfectly secure. These knives have been in production for a long time. It does have a still lock bar insert, and just kind of pushing on the spine. I don't get any movement. Side to side play, 0. Let's take the lock bar off and then see if we got any side to side, which is a good indicator if you do, and we don't have any. But boy, just glassy smooth. I don't know what they're doing, if they're pre-treating the, around this area, polishing it or something so those bearings run, because you don't even feel the bearings in there rolling. It's kind of odd and hard to describe how free and smooth it is. Anyways, very cool, very glassy. It's got a it's got a milled titanium clip with their logo on it, which has the same stonewashing as the rest of the knife, which I appreciate that they didn't make it different. That's awesome. Blends really well. It's thumb stud openable, very quick, very useful, comfortable in the hand. Very, very thin knife overall, both the blade and the scales with those bronzed standoffs. No milling on the inside. I do know that they put some pretty cool custom engraving on the inside. I'm not going to open this one up because it's not my knife, but I think it says probably made in Canada, and then the Norse logo, and then probably some dates and things like that on the inside. Stamped on the blade, you've got the RWL 34 and then the serial number of this particular knife, and then that cool blade shape. It is sharp, not scalpel, but very, very sharp. Did a good job from the factory, but again, not scalpel sharp. So smooth, guys. Very cool looking. So to talk about the Grimsmo Brothers, so they started a long time ago. You can watch their videos on YouTube. I watched them in the beginning and kind of got burnt out because they posted so many of them. But they're basically two brothers that had a passion for both knives and machining alike. And I feel like if you watch their videos, it's kind of almost like the knives were an afterthought as opposed to understanding and developing their machining skills. So they kind of started in their garage, worked their way up to a factory. And the things that put them on the map is they wanted to utilize modern equipment like CNC mills for producing their knives. So that's what almost all their videos are about, and that was what gives their knives kind of this, if you can see, it's a very, you can see the CNC milling. So instead of using a modern wheel to craft their blades, I'll show you on this. So you've got this is a hollow grind, so you've got a wheel that would basically, you'd have a stamped blade that would come out, and they would treat it and all that, and then they would use a wheel to basically do this hollow grind and put that into the blade to get it to swoop down, to get it to that the primary edge. Well, instead of doing that, the brothers basically have their blade stamped, or stay stamped, is, cutouts of RWL 34, put in a mill, and the mill just slowly grinds away stage by stage by stage until you have that swooped down blade to the primary edge, and then they sharpen it. So and that's the same way they do all their stuff. Everything, from what I understand, unless they've changed their process, it goes in a CNC, the titanium, the hardware, the blade, everything, and the CNC is programmed and basically cuts out their pieces. And then I'm sure they do the stone washing, the heat treating and all that, and then assembly, and then that's how you have their knife. So some people have been on the fence about whether they like that or not, that they think it's, cheating, and just done, not done the traditional way. That's one of the knocks kind of against these guys. I don't know if you'd say it as a knock, but that's something that people talk about. Personally, for me, I don't care whatsoever. I think it's still awesome. Those guys have invested a lot of money into their equipment, a lot of years honing their craft as machinists. And yes, that's what they are. Probably first and foremost, machinists and designers. And they wanted to perfect their knife. And this knife has gone through a lot of different iterations as far as things that they've done differently to it, stuff that we probably couldn't see from the naked eye, but they can as machinists to make their knives better and better over time to get it to this point. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate guys trying to do their very best to make the best product they can. And these do end up being very expensive by the time they're done. This knife, I think, costs $900 even off their website. And that's expensive, guys. I mean, that's a lot of money for a titanium folder, especially, when guys are saying they're not true customs because they weren't done on a grinding wheel and things like that, and they were done with primarily machines. Again, I disagree with that logic. They've invested a lot of money and time and effort and brain power into perfecting this knife, regardless of the equipment used. I mean, a grinding wheel, back in the day was thought of as, great high technology, I mean, like, that was ran by a motor and not by like, a foot pump or something. So technology advances, and these are guys that are using technology to the best of their ability to make the best product they can, and that should be commended and appreciated. As for the knife itself and kind of where does it fit in today's world of knives, because this knife, the Norseman, has been considered kind of a grail knife for a lot of people for years and years and years. And is it still considered that? I think it is, probably just simply because of the price point. But as far as its materials and the exotic nature of the knife, I don't think it's really that exotic these days. I think it's very, very unique. It's got a great story behind it, which has been completely archived on YouTube, which makes it even more awesome. And the appreciation for the two guys behind it, John and Eric, which seem to be absolutely stand-up awesome guys that stand behind their knives and appreciate quality. And I don't really think these knives come with any QC issues. At least I don't hear of them. But so I don't know if it stands in the position that it did back in the day, where this was the first knife that kind of had that fall shut action. You can get that with lots of different brands these days. So I think that where it once was kind of stood by itself. You've got the Koenigs of the world, and shoot, even Hinders, now that they're running on bearings, are pretty fall shut. So I think they were kind of the first to kind of really do it really, really well and have that, fall shuttiness. And then a lot of other companies followed suit. So definitely an OG of a knife and unique. The blade shape is super unique. I do think it's going to be very usable the same way I use my Tonto Chris Reeve. Both of these have kind of this point right here and that point right there. And if you saw my video, that's very good for opening packages, and that's the point that I actually kind of utilize for opening packages. So I think this would be a good everyday user from that perspective. And then, I don't really see you doing any scraping or cutting much with this part of the edge, but hey, maybe you would. And then the recurve is great for cutting rope or pool cuts, things like that. So it'd be very useful in that way. It would be kind of a bear to sharpen because of that recurve. I would definitely have somebody sharpen this that really, really knows what they're doing, and has stones that, can fit in that recurve, like, probably a Wicked Edge or a Edge Pro Apex or KME, something like that. But somebody who really knows what they're doing. So sharpening could be an issue. It's interesting that the cutout for the lock bar is on the outside. Most makers these days are putting them on the inside. Both just for, I think that's kind of a better way to go about it from what I've read and kind of learned over the years. And also just from the visuals of having it on the outside, it doesn't look quite as good, but I guarantee you the Grimsmo Brothers have a very good reason as to why that is. But that's just kind of a part to note of people talking about this knife and kind of where it stands in the modern age of knives that we see. So these come in all different configurations, and they are made in incredibly small batches. They've been making these things forever. And I mean, like this one, if that's what I understand, that's you know, Norseman number 5,679. So that's not very many when you've been making knives for, I think, over the past decade at least. I'm pretty sure. That's not very many knives. So they make them very small, lots of different configurations. They're starting an inventory on their website. Usually they put like 2 or 3 up at a time, I believe. And if you get lucky and you're on there and it's a configuration you want, you pay for it and it gets shipped to your house. That's how this one came. I think they're still doing the lottery maybe, where you kind of says like maker's choice, where they make one and they send it to you, or customer's choice, where you can design one and exactly how you want it set up, and then they'll make it and then they'll ship it to you. So I think they're still doing that, if that's something you guys are interested in, on their website. So check that out. Anyways, what else do I want to say about this knife? You know, I think that if you're into the overall aesthetic, as far as it's extremely polarizing, right? I mean, the blade shape, when you first see this knife, it does a great job of not being like anything else, which is cool. That crown spine, and again, that kind of spoonbill looking, Norse looking shape. If you're into that, I think it's a great knife. If you've got the money to spend and you want to add something super unique to your collection, that's numbered, and that two young guys started in their garage and worked their way up to making this knife, and you know, supporting that, I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Anybody who has that kind of ingenuity and has a dream and goes for it and puts their money where their mouth is to invest in the equipment and technology to make a product. No telling what kind of sacrifices those guys went through to get this company, you know, Grimsmo Knives, to what it is today. I know they're making rasks, which is kind of a very streamlined gentleman's carry, and they're also making pins, which people love. I think those are around $300. So I think they're kind of due to make a new knife, to be honest with you, and expand their portfolio. I think they would benefit from that, so that this doesn't get too kind of long in the tooth of only making this. And yeah, they've worked on perfecting it, but at the same time, I think consumers really would like to see new knives from them, and I think that'd be really cool. So anyways, guys, those are kind of my thoughts. Please leave your comments and thoughts in the description below. I hope I went over everything enough, because it's such a unique knife. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think. I think it's a beautiful knife. You know, the knock against this one would be, people would say this one's kind of a generic plain looking one. For me personally, like that aesthetic. I'm not really into the gold and flamed honeycomb pattern and all kinds of craziness. I really like just the plain Jane personally. You know, some people think, you know, you're spending this type of money, maybe it should be super, super unique and crazy colors and all that. That's just not my jam. Again, the reason why I really like Chris Reeve. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts. I know this is a super long video, but it's a really unique piece. And again, Jason, thank you so much for lending it to the channel, and I really appreciate it. And hopefully we can get some more cool stuff on the channel soon, guys. Be sure to check out my giveaway video and join that once we hit 500 subscribers. And if you're not subbed, please do, so we can keep bringing cool stuff to the channel like this knife. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.